You could really hop out of bed, put your feet on the ground, and lean over to the basin to brush your teeth. So it was kind of small.
They are some tiny rooms, and let's put it this way, once your single bed was in there, you didn't get to rearrange the furniture.
While not cloistered, they spent much of their time here in prayer and in silence. No talking in the halls was more than just a suggestion.
The things I remember is we were trained, of course, to be more religious-like, what everybody thought was a religious. So I remember being told I needed to lower the tone of my voice. Now, I wasn't talking in the halls, and I needed to slow down my walk. So I was working at that as I walked these halls.
All of the sisters in the black veil, you could not speak to them. So if they had classes with us, then we got to speak with them then, and we got to play ball with them.
And although they did not get to speak much, when they were permitted to talk, they were expected to speak both quietly and correctly.
But I was also sent to special classes by Mother Adrian, because I was born and raised in the 9th Ward, and she wanted to teach me how to put G on the end of moving, walking, flying. I was still saying dis, dat, dem, and doze.
We had to try out for the choir. So she'd make us sing the scale up and down, you know, and I didn't know much about music. And so she went through it and she said, okay, you're next. And so we came up and, to try, and she said, just sing the scale for me. And she gave me an example, which I can't do for you. And she said, okay, now sit right here and I'll come back to you. She hasn't come back yet. I'm still not singing in the choir.
The novices, postulants, and sisters would settle in here, turning this generous donation of land into a thriving center of education.
As I say, my grandmother, she talked about the college and the nuns a great deal after my grandfather passed away. And it was just a fondness that's hard to describe. There was an affinity there that, as I say, it's hard to put into words. I don't know exactly what she'd say, but she was from England, and it would be with a British accent.
The next few years at the college would bring changes in curriculum and in culture. As the 1960s rolled in, so did social and political change, civil rights sit-ins and marches. A new wall was built in Berlin. A new flag flew over the United States, one with 50 stars, reflecting the admission of Hawaii to the Union.
5, 4,
The first
3,
Catholic president
2,
promised a man on the moon by the end of the decade.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
It was a season of change for Our Lady of Holy Cross College as well, as the sisters embraced their new home, their new school name.
My diploma says Academy of the Holy Angels College Department. That's what it was called for years. That was my diploma. My class in 1961 received the last of those diplomas. The next class received Our Lady of Holy Cross College. And you can also see like a little black on this where my hands were. It was the middle of July. We were in serge habits, the full habit. My hands were sweating, and it showed through on the parchment. So,
Our graduation took place in the community room, which is probably this area right here. It was then the community room. And they sat up, you know, a row of 2 or 3 sets of chairs. And we weren't given anything. We were just announced that we had graduated, and they said our names. That was it. That was graduation. And I believe there might have been punch and cookies after. We have so many occasions with punch and cookies, I get them confused.
Those graduation classes would grow as the college began admitting lay teachers from both the Archdiocese and public schools.
We had silence all day long. So when we went to class, and we got to talk to the lay people, you know, and they spoke to us, so we had to respond. So that was kind of exciting. We got to talk.
Soon, they were talking about new programs and adding majors and minors and finding a way to pay off the mortgage. In 1963, to help pay off the building debt, the sisters decided to put on a fair. They enlisted the help of every Marianite school in the area.
Every school operated a number of booths, and then you also provided entertainment. So you had to train the students in your school to provide a number of performing acts on stage so that it would draw in the people.
And as that weekend approached, no one knew what to expect.
And I can remember clearly, he sat in the parlor with my mother and my sister, and he said, "Honey, I don't want you to be disturbed by this," big tears in his eyes. "Daddy's here to tell you there is no way this is going to work." He said there are too many people involved. They cleared $18,000 in April of 1963.
It became a yearly event, and eventually, those fairs helped get them to the day when they could burn the mortgage on the building. 1967 was a milestone for the college. A lot happened that year to change the look of things inside and out. That year, the sisters added a large new chapel to the campus, with a prominent steeple enhancing the college profile.
The section that we're sitting in now was actually dedicated about 2 months after we entered. That was in October of 1967. It was also the first year that men came to Our Lady of Holy Cross College. So we were all excited about men coming to the college, only to find out that they were all seminarians, about 6 of them. Over the years, that has changed tremendously, but we were very excited to know that every now and then we would see a guy.
The college was now co-ed. 1967 also saw the sisters themselves change into new habits. The Pope had issued a statement calling for sisters of all orders to modify their habits, and the Marianites made a new look for themselves. Actually, their original habits had been made to reflect the dress of the day, but that was in France in the early 1800s. Their new habits would be a bit different from that.
It was 1967. They had just changed the habit. It was the time of the miniskirt, and our habit at that time was a very long gray skirt, a light blue blouse, long sleeves, with a chapel veil on our heads. So throughout the day, walking through the halls, people would stop us and say, "Ma'am, you have your chapel veil on," and I'd say, "No, that's part of my habit." And they'd go,
The hallways were definitely starting to look different. New fashions, new faces, even in the leadership. As the school sought to gain critical recognition, a lay governing board was put into place. That change helped the school achieve higher standing in the academic world. Our Lady of Holy Cross received accreditation by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools.
For many, many years, this college served as more as a certification landing spot for young people who wanted to be teachers, ultimately. So it's a teacher's college, which is, there's no better calling than that of being a teacher.
And even as education courses remained a major focus, the college wanted to grow in opportunities. That included after-hours classes, enrolling older students, and offering options.
At this time, the college was the back half of the convent in many ways. So my perspective was of the convent. I'm not going to the convent for a college, right? But it turned out to be the best experience of my life. We had students who were like myself, or late teens, but also others who were coming back to school for another career. And I learned from them as much as my teachers, you know, about life.
They had daytime classes, nighttime classes. I mean, it was the kind of school that reached, I think, across the divide of the traditional 18-year-old just out of high school student, and began that process of looking to get the older students, the people who were maybe in their mid-20s or early 30s who wanted to get the education they thought would bring them more success in their life. And I think Holy Cross was right there at the right time.
Particularly the last 50 years, I mean, it's evolved from basically a teacher's colleges, as many small Catholic universities have evolved from. But the big change here, I think, is the beginning of the nursing school and beginning of the counseling school.
In 1984, the addition of a 4-year nursing program brought in new students with new directions, a perfect fit with the mission of the college. The vision of the nursing and eventually allied health department promotes justice, respect, excellence, and stewardship as core values.
Because life is tough. The curriculum's tough and life is tough. And our students, many of them are working students. They're taking care of families. So there's a lot of extraneous things going on. So to be in an environment when you know the faculty wants you to succeed, they're going to walk the walk with you, I think has to make a difference.
She was there to support me when I didn't do well on my exams. She was there to offer advice, offer prayers, to help me succeed. So I wanted to give back to the students some of the positive things that I have as a nurse, and some of the things that I did try to deter them from doing. So that's why I came back to teach.
From its simple beginnings with a graduating class of 9 to a popular and prominent and state-of-the-art program, nursing continues to grow and compete.
We have a 12-bed lab that provides a safe environment for students to practice with. Our students are in the clinical area in all the institutions throughout the area. And of course, when they arrive at the institution, there's no on-the-job training. They've got to go to work. So the lab provides a safe environment for them to practice skills.
I think what Holy Cross has done in the last many years down this path of allied health and nursing is just brilliant. Our society will always need nurses, and they will always need well-trained allied health professionals, and they will always need places like Holy Cross who are churning out what has a reputation of being one of the very best nursing schools in the region of the United States.
That same year, a master's program in education was added to the list of degrees. This was a huge growth period for the college. For the first time, a non-Marianite was in the president's office. There were additional program options. And as more and more students discovered Our Lady of Holy Cross, more and more were seeing the value in this college on the West Bank.
I think I must be one of those people with not as much vision as I should have. I remember when they started, I called it the policeman's program. And I'm thinking, policemen, what are we doing training policemen? But what a wonderful opening that was.
A couple police officers that I knew were coming here, and they raved about the place. They said it's very individualized, the classes are very small, the teacher is very involved with you, and it was an amazing opportunity to take someone like me who had very little training in education and help me to succeed and get a college education and graduate with a bachelor's degree in applied behavioral science in 1987.
Many called this the hidden gem on the West Bank, but word was getting around. This was a place focused on educating the whole person in a welcoming, nurturing, encouraging atmosphere.
First day I walked in to come to the college to talk about getting my master's degree, I walked in the front door, and lo and behold, on the right-hand side in the hallway, there was another door that was open, and Father Tom Chambers was sitting in that office as the president. I walked in and I asked him where the front office was, and he said, "It's here." And I said, "Well, this says the president." He said, "Come right on in."
he had a candy jar in addition to the open door. It was to have a conversation with students. Sometimes students, of course, are experiencing anxiety, especially new students, or people just coming to check out the place. And there's nothing like giving them a little baby Ruth, just a little treat to say, look, in addition to the conversation, here's just an act of kindness and joy, And to this day, I keep remembering the candy jar moments.
Father Tom Chambers came to Our Lady of Holy Cross College in 1987, and wanting to build on the success of the past, helped move the college further into the future.
So he put together a structure of what a college university should look like. His experience at the University of Notre Dame, his experience as academic vice president at Ursuline College in Ohio, prepared him well to be the president here at the time that he arrived.
Right away, he wanted to not only expand its reach, but its walls as well. The need for a new library was evident.
So he arrived in 1987 and only knew one or two folks in New Orleans. And so they introduced him to the people that he should get to know. And one of them was Blaine Kern. So Blaine introduced him and opened up many doors for Father in the community.
Blaine Kern is a very generous gentleman, and he is a gentleman. He was a gift, and I know how wonderful he has been helping students. That library was important to me and the college.
The year was 1990, and the new library had a new name. Now able to boast of online catalogs, email, and the latest computer technology, the college itself was advancing, adding and building, making huge strides in new areas. One of them, the addition of a counseling program, one that would teach and reach.
The nuns, that's actually what they were here doing, counseling in their own, in their own spiritual right. That's what they were doing. And I mean, the atmosphere and the culture, it just spilled over into everything here. And now, anytime you look at people's resume, when I see Our Lady of Holy Cross, I know that we're getting a good counselor, or else I can recommend them because I know what they received, because I know what I got from the school.
Eventually growing to be one of the feature degree programs, counseling began as an extension of the education department, another way to train people to help others.
We needed to get some men and women to be educated in this particular way. So I was happy because it went well. Wow. It's going to be around for many, many years.
With its own separate space, the Thomas E. Chambers Counseling Center offered not only education, but real-world experience.
Before I left, I knew I was ready, I was equipped. Not only did I have the theory work, but I also had hands-on experience. And that was very, very important, especially for what I'm doing now. Had not I come to Holy Cross, I don't think I'd be as effective as I am now.